Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the greatest games on the Blizzard. Good to have you with us. My name is Marcus. With me, of course, is Jonathan Wilson. And with us today is David Diaz Bejarano, the political scientist and founder of pinceladasdefutbol.com, which is a Colombian-based journalistic project that envisions football as a social and cultural phenomenon. David, pleasure to have you on the pod.
Thank you guys for having me. It's a real pleasure.
Today we go back to October 1987 to the Copa Libertadores final playoff that ended Penarol 1, America de Cali 0. David, why have you chosen this game?
I think that in the whole history of football, I don't think you can find another scenario or another situation where a team actually arrives for the third consecutive time to a final and still manages to lose it. I don't know if in the history of the World Cup or the Champions League or in Africa or in Asia, I think what happened with America de Cali in 1987 was pretty historic in the sense that America managed to reach the final in 85, 86, 87 and still lost every one of them. But just for the historic side, I don't think that's ever happened in another scenario. Mm-hmm. I think also for in the context of the Copa Libertadores, I think it could be the most dramatic one. I mean, in the sense of it took place in it needed 3 matches to decide the winner, and Penarol actually won it in the 120th minutes in the third match. So I think just for the history of the Copa Libertadores, it might be one of the most relevant and important finals. And
but I think what we should also say there is that when you say they won it in the 120th minute, it's not that it was about to go to penalties. It's that because of this very strange format that existed in South America at the time, even though the aggregate score from the first two games was in favour of America de Cali, they then go to a playoff. And it's 0-0 after 90 minutes. It's 0-0 after 120 minutes. But if it had stayed 0-0, they would have won it on goal difference. So they're literally 30 seconds from winning the Libertadores. Mm-hmm. And then this one goal takes it away from them. So it's not one goal stops it being a draw. It's one goal turns a victory into a defeat.
Yeah, exactly. And I would add that the 80s was a very problematic time for us in Colombia in the sense that drug money proved to be a major issue in our country and in our region. And America de Cali was actually one of the teams that was backed by the Cali cartel and back then. And for America and for the cartel, actually, winning the Copa Libertadores was actually the major ambition that we had, because locally America was winning everything, the national tournaments. But winning the Copa Libertadores for America was like this big ambition that America had, but also the cartel had, and it could not prove to be possible because of this match. And also, if you think about it, it was the third final in a row. So I don't know what you guys think, but maybe some background on some of these issues could be interesting.
Yes, I mean the cartel. They buy the club, late 70s? Is that right?
Actually, America de Cali, at the beginning, it's a club that was founded in 1927. And at the beginning, it was a very humble club. It was called the Passion of the People, La Pasión del Pueblo. And it was very humble. It was a very humble team which identified with the poor and rural sides of the Cali, the city of Cali. As time went on, the club had some elements that I think people should find interesting. It's called the Red Devils, Los Diablos Rojos, and it plays with this red uniform. And back in 1948, it's just something that Benfica fans will relate to. A former player called Garabato placed a curse on America when America was transitioning towards professionalism. and stop being an amateur club. Garabato was not very happy about it, and he placed a curse on America and said, America de Cali will never win a championship. We had to wait until 1979 to actually win our first championship in Colombia. And it coincides with the time where actually the cartel bought the club, bought America de Cali around the 80s. So the 80s, it's really the time in Colombia where our internal conflict starts to really, worsen. Colombia has had we are now implementing our peace agreement, which is actually going well. But back in the day, since 1948, we had an internal conflict. And it was during the 80s that all the dynamics of drug money that started to permeate Colombia, that we ended up with many teams being backed up by cartels. America was backed by the Cali cartel. Nacional was backed by the Medellin cartel. And basically, it was something that, if you think about it, and all the war against drugs thing, it's been 60 years, and as a international community, we're still discussing and debating what's the best course of action to tackle the drugs issue. But the reality is there's always been a lot of supply and demand. And in this context, Colombia has been it's been very problematic for us in this sense. And there's been, during the 80s, this law of supply and demand meant that it was one of the periods where drug money proved to be a major factor in our football.
And I mean, it's a huge part of the stories you've obviously sort of mapped out there. I mean, for anybody who's watched the television show Narcos, and I'm sure you're sort of probably fed up of that being linked, but one would be aware of the Cali cartel and their exploits, if you like, with regards to getting involved in football. How was it seen by the locals and the fans? Was this seen as quite a regrettable situation? Was it seen as inevitable?
It's in a sense, I guess it's somewhat inevitable in a way. If you think about it, the whole dynamics of the drugs against wars, the war against drugs. If you think about it, Colombia, because of its geographical components and its geographical topography, has always been like the producer of drugs. But it's not something we Colombians like endorse or are proud about. It. We actually hate it and been trying to fight against it for decades. So, but particularly against the question you asked me, it's just it happened to be America. It happened. The cartel proved to be in Cali. America proved to be the team that was chosen in a way, and in a way, the America supporters, they just indulge in it. I don't know if you think about it. I always like to draw this parallel with what's going on right now in 2021. Back then, maybe it was drug money with the cartels and all this. Now you have in globalization, you have like these huge amounts of money that are coming from the Emirates or Qatar or whatever. We have like this fair play, financial fair play regulations that prove to be also quite challenging. And you have teams like, like Manchester City, PSG, where huge amounts of money are changing the whole dynamic. And you see fans just indulging on it. And I don't see many fans like are pissed off about it. And that's what happened with America. Its fans just indulge about it. And America started to buy marvelous players back then, Falcioni, Gareca. The 80s in Colombia proved to be like a second El Dorado, if you think about it. If the first El Dorado was back then with the Di Stéfano and all that, during the 80s, the Colombian league was plenty with stars.
But it seems that from a football point of view, they actually made some really good decisions. So, I'm fascinated by the fact that pretty much throughout this period we're talking about, so for 12 years, the coach was Gabriel Ochoa Uribe. So they tried to get Juan Carlos Lorenzo, the Argentinian who coached Argentina at the World Cups in 62 and 66, who'd had great success with Boca. He turned them down. And they then turned to Ochoa Uribe, who, he'd had great success both as a player then as a manager with Millonarios.
United, yeah.
And but then he's there all the way through this period, which I mean, for any manager at any club to have a 12-year reign is incredible. But it seems to me particularly incredible when you have very wealthy and I presume very demanding owners.
Yeah, of course. And Ochoa Uribe is actually a very important piece of the puzzle in Colombia's football history. He was like, if we are to think about those managers that gave us Colombians our football identity, we tend to think first of Francisco Maturana. But actually, before Maturana, Ochoa Uribe was the guy that actually showed us many things about how to play football. And Ochoa Uribe managed to do this, like you said, with Millonarios. And with America, he got like this backing and this financial backing to really build this all-star team that ended up being América de Cali in the 80s.
And they are, I mean, we should say exactly what they won. So they win the league in 79, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, and then again in 1990. So this final we're talking about in 87, they're coming off the back of 5 successive Colombian titles. So they really are, an extremely good side.
Yeah, of course. And back then, locally, we were. I say we because I gotta admit I'm a supporter of America. But back then we were. There was like there were these huge rivalries with Nacional and Millonarios, but locally we were winning everything. For us, it became the obsession to win the Copa Libertadores and to be the first Colombian team to actually win it. That became like the real challenge for America. And our first real attempt to actually do it was in 85. In 85, we managed to get to the final, which we played against Argentino Juniors. And it was like this dramatic final. Again, it was like 3 matches. America won the first one 1-0. Argentinos won the second match 1-0. A third match was needed to actually decide who was going to be the winner. This third match was played as in South American rules in neutral ground in Asunción, I think, in Paraguay. And it was decided by penalties. And we lost. So it was our first traumatic defeat in this sense. And there was this player, Anthony Pipa de Avila, who was the guy who missed the final shot. And he was, I don't know if you guys, but America's badge features a red devil. That's why they called us the Red Devil. And Pipa de Avila, Anthony, he was a very Catholic player. And after that incident, he started to hide the badge with because he felt like this bad vibe with the devil and all this. And but that was 85 was the first Copa Libertadores final that we lost. And for as your listeners might understand, the Copa Libertadores for us is like the Champions League for Europeans. So it's a major blow, but it was our first attempt.
And then you're talking about being the first Colombian side to win it. So the first Colombian side to reach the final was Deportivo Cali in 78? So,
yeah, with Bilardo.
And then this is the second time a Colombian side gets there. And then again in 86 when they lose both games against River Plate.
So yeah, 86, it was like, okay, there we go again, second consecutive final. This time's our time. And yeah, like you said, we lost both matches. It was with the River Plate in 86. We had no major regrets. They were better, and it was there was not much we could do about it. But then after 2 finals, there we go, 87, and America, Colombia. We are pretty much like, okay, now's our time.
But I mean, even to get to this final is an incredible story. I mean, it's the number of near misses to stay in the tournament is incredible. So, I mean, one of the things that I can't. I mean, this is me with my very boring European mindset. Every time I look at the Libertadores, it takes me 10 minutes to work out what on earth the structure was because it changes all the time, and there's no logic in anything CONMEBOL will ever do. And yet somehow, no matter how stupid the structure, it always produces incredible drama. So the way it worked this in 87, the 6 groups of 4, and the top team in each group goes through to, what do you even call them, semi-finals? There's 2 groups of 3 in the semi-finals. And the end of the first group stage, America are playing the strongest from Bolivia, and they need to win by 6 to make it into this semi-final group. And in the 89th minute, Gareca scores to make it 6-0. I mean, that in itself is incredible.
Yeah, for instance.
For instance.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, yeah, I won't say that, but yes. But yeah, it is. I mean, yes, it's dramatic, I suppose. Yeah.
And then the semi-final group, they have to beat Barcelona from Guayaquil, not the Spanish
Ecuador,
Barcelona.
yeah.
Have to beat them 4-0 or by 4 to make it to the final. And sure enough, they win it 4-0.
Amazing! What a story.
and it's just like you said, it's like this anxiety that's building up, and when Gareca scores his goal, and you start to think like, now's our time, now it's gonna happen, because again, one of the most peculiar things about this episode is I don't think this has happened in another time in history. I don't recall an European team that has lost 3 Champions League finals in a row, or I don't have the authority to say it has not happened, but
it's a very rare thing. I mean, that's something we can all agree, and especially for the money that was put into the club, the success they had domestically, and the experience as well. Because as you say, penalty shootout, it goes right to the wire. It's a very fine margin. They have the final where they're beaten soundly by River, I think he said, and this one comes along, and a Colombian side had not won the Copa Libertadores, which of course was established in 1960. You'd had, as Jonathan said, Deportivo Cali in the final previously, but Colombian sides didn't regularly reach the final, and there they were in their third final, and with that ownership as well, wanting the success, and all the fans as well wanting the success, they go into it to try and be the first Colombian side to win this precious tournament.
And I think one of the underlying themes I can identify with this tale of misfortune of America is we Colombians, we have improved a lot in terms of football in recent decades. If we think about it, we've been to a couple of World Cups. We've reached the quarterfinals in 2014. But there's one thing about the Colombian mentality that's I think that's where we're lacking, and it's this where things get like real, and you have to really deliver on a certain moment. There's this thing about Colombian mentality that we've been trying to really improve upon, and it's to really like deliver when you have to. And America, back in the day, it was like this personification of Colombia, in the sense that we were trying to beat Argentina, Uruguay, and we were missing like this 2 inches to really do it. And in the other team, in the other side, we had like Penarol. And as you guys know, Penarol is this huge institution of South American football. Is the personification of the myth of the Garra Charrúa, of this never say never spirit, never surrender, never die. And when in 87, we knew that the final was going to be against Uruguay, we were like thinking, okay, now's our time to really show South America that Colombia is ready to turn the page and really deliver. And that's where the match will begin.
All right, chaps, let's have a quick break, and after which we will talk about the match itself. See you in a moment, everybody. Welcome back to the Greatest Games on the Blizzard. So then, David, just to give a little bit more admin around this final, because if anybody has looked at the scores in this final, as I did researching this game, I thought, well, hang on, the first leg ended 2-0 to Cali, and they scored 2 great goals, by the way. It's worth digging out the grainy footage for that. And Penarol won the second leg 2-1. But of course, the way they did the final, then it was a point system rather than aggregate. It was 2 points for a win, 1 for a draw, and obviously 0 for a loss, which does seem a little odd to say the least. But Jonathan's already mentioned the oddness of some of the decisions that are made in the escalons of South American football. So it goes to a playoff, a neutral ground, because
we should talk about that second leg, because they're so close even then to winning it that first half America take the lead, Cabañas header from a corner. So they've won they've got the 2 points in the bag. They can't lose those. They're there. Yeah. They're safe. They won it off in the second leg, and then they just get deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And I mean, I'm not going to pretend I've watched the whole game. I've watched sort of 12 minutes of highlights, but you can see, even in the highlights, you can see it happening. Yeah. And then there's a header from Aguirre after midway through the half, 68, 69 minutes, something like that, to make it 1-1 on the night. But even then, that's enough. That's enough for America to win it. And then 3 minutes to go, a brilliant free kick from Villa. And suddenly it's 2-1 and we're going to a playoff.
You're really rubbing it into poor old David.
Well, we should say as well about this Penarol. They are really, I mean, again, judging from highlights, they look a really good side. I got sort of lured down a rabbit hole of watching highlights of Penarol. So they're coached by Oscar Tabarez, who's only, I guess, like 40 or something here, but he looks exactly the same as how he looks now.
I should hope so, yeah.
I mean, Tabarez has never changed. You know, I know it's become a cliche to describe football managers as looking like detectives, but no man has ever looked so like the stern precinct chief in a 1970s American cop drama. And you know, he's been Uruguay coach since 2006. Yeah, so 15 years in that job. But they got through that semi-final group. They won 4-2 away to Independiente, and the 4 goals they scored in the second half of that game are brilliant counter-attacks.
Yeah.
They're clearly a really, really good counter-attacking team. And it's worth, I mean, the footage is terrible, but it's worth digging out the footage of that just for the excitement of a commentator in the sense of this sudden sort of unstoppable yellow and black wave that Independiente just sort of, I mean, I guess they need to win to stay in with a chance of getting through, and so they overcommit, but just getting picked off on the break over and over again. But I guess the point is, this wasn't on the break. America were sitting so deep, they just let them come onto them. And so that takes it to this playoff.
Exactly. And the playoff, just to add some, I think that the playoff took place on the 33rd of October. I mean, it took place in Halloween.
So for the Red Devils, it should be perfect.
So for the Red Devils, it should have been like something good. And during this whole time, there was this whole drama of America not being able to win the Copa Libertadores. I told you guys about the Garabato course, about this former player who had supposedly put a course on the team. So when America won its first title in '79, national local title, it was people thought that maybe the course had been lifted, but when America started losing this Copa Libertadores finals, everybody was like, maybe the course is still on, and actually a ritual of exorcism took place in the pitch of the America's stadium back in 1980 to try to lift this famous course, which actually resonates a lot with the Benfica curse of Bela Gutmann. And you think about it, Benfica is also red. And I don't know, maybe the gods of football, what were they thinking?
But they're not called the Devils, though, are they, David? You know, you're not helping yourself out there.
In any case, when before this match, people actually were asking Garabato if the course had been lifted, and he was saying, yeah, of course, it's okay. Which takes us to this match, which its circumstances are rather dramatic in the sense that it took place just 3 days after the second match. I mean, the players were actually really tired and stuff. But I think, in a sense, what I think and I find most interesting is it happens a lot in football nowadays when America with a draw was going to be champion. So how do you approach a match like this? It happens all the time. It happens to the best of coaches. Do you try to win it, or do you try not to lose? And actually, what Ochoa Uribe did, he played like a catenaccio proposal for this game. He did everything in his book to try to stall the game, to prevent. To this day, there are lots of supporters in Colombia and America who blame him because he tried not to lose, and you can show it during the course of the game.
I mean, it wasn't a ridiculous tactic to try and do that, because Jonathan, you said yourself, with watching Penarol, counter-attacking, they were very effective. I mean, even in the two legs, the home and away ties in this final, there were chances at either end. So actually, if they were better on the break, to play defensively like that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a matter of degrees.
And he was so close.
It was so close, yeah.
I'm sorry, David.
And there's the other point that Gareca gets injured with about 10 minutes of normal time to go, and he brings on Espinilla, a defender, for him, and you sort of think, I think Gareca, we should say, is sort of a centre forward. I think actually a really beautiful player. I kind of, every time I see highlights of him, I sort of think what a great player he was. Played for Vélez as well, but he's 6'2", something like that. Yeah, tall, thin, great control, but not sort of not really a target man. Somebody who was very good on the ball, could kind of very good at finding a pass. I think just a really lovely centre forward. But when you lose your centre forward, obviously it's going to hamper you. But to bring on a central defender with 10 minutes plus injury time to go, that seems to be the moment at which I can't quite justify Ochoa Uribe's approach. And you think of the first three halves of a game, if that makes sense, the entirety of the first leg, the first half of the second leg, by playing a relatively balanced game, America are on top, they're winning. And then as they get more and more nervous, they get deeper and deeper, that's when the problems begin.
Mm-hmm. I mean, David, who were favourites going into this game? Because you mentioned Penarol, giants of South American football. But I mean, America weren't exactly a bad side. Lots of domestic success and an impressive squad.
I mean, in terms of history, by when the match was played, Penarol had already won, I think, 2 or 3 Copa Libertadores, maybe 3.
Mm-hmm. 3. They won the first 2, and then they won it again in 82, I think.
Yeah, there you go, 82. They won it on 61, 62, and 82. So in terms of history, it was clear that America was going against one of the major teams in South America. But again, the lineup of America had players who were really amongst the best in the continent, in South America. I mean, players like Roberto Cabañas back then, Ricardo Gareca, Julio César Falcioni. Falcioni was maybe perhaps one of the best keepers in the whole continent back then. So it was. You could say that, I don't know, it's as if, Manchester City was going to play against Barcelona or something like that.
Yeah,
of course, Penarol had all the tradition, the history, but maybe America had a really brilliant generation of players. And I'm forgetting to talk about Willington Ortiz. Willington Ortiz was among America's players. And Willington Ortiz is one of our brightest talents and a real pearl gem of a player.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to as a young supporter of America, this match has left like a big scar in Cali and its supporters, because as you may know, Jonathan, when you see the footage, it's one of the major things I can relate as someone whose mother tongue is Spanish and I'm Colombian, is when I listen to the Uruguayan commentator in the live footage. He has surrendered. When you listen to the footage, he says, the Uruguayan says, there's no more time, we lost. And for a Uruguayan to actually say that, I thought was like, they thought they had lost it. But then then you start to see like this magnet that's like drawing the ball towards America's.
Well, I mean, there's plenty happens in the game before that. I mean, there's the Gareca has an overhead kick in the first half, which maybe he should do better with. He puts it wide. Vieira.
So can I just jump in there, Jonathan? The amount of overhead kicks in general throughout these highlights of this game is utterly glorious, by the way. It really is great. But from a European football fan, you do think to yourself, yeah, they do it better in South America. Carry on.
Then Ricardo Vieira, the Penarol midfielder, he's sort of like 20 yards out. This sort of clip, it's never going in, but it hits the outside of the post. It's close. There's a goal ruled out for offside, which in the angle of a camera, it's impossible to tell, but it's close. You can say that.
Mm-hmm.
And then 16 minutes to go, there's 2 red cards, which I have to say, I don't know what one of them's for. I've got no idea what one of them's for. But Cabañas is sort of shepherding the ball out by the corner flag, and Herrera takes a huge swipe at him. And that's a red card for Herrera, absolutely. And then Herrera collapses, clutching his breadbasket, shall we say? So I don't know if Cabañas managed to punch him as he went down, but it's not clear on the footage at all. But they both get red cards. Then there's that really odd incident when a Penarol defender chests the ball against his own crossbar. Well, I watched that about 5 times before I worked out what was going on. What was he trying to do? And also, how can you chest a ball that hard?
Well, as we saw in the second leg, he's trying to chest himself up for the overhead kick clearance, which is a wonderful thing.
It's creative, at least. And
yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. But as you said, there's such drama.
And then Penarol should clearly have a penalty just before the end of normal time. Oh
my goodness, yeah. That's an outrageous decision not to give that.
So yeah, Diaz going through and Valencia, the right back, just chops him down. Valencia has a terrible game, right? I mean, I mean, again, I'm judging from sort of 12, 15 minutes of highlights, but Valencia doesn't seem to make a clean tackle in the entire match. I mean, that was a blatant penalty.
I was astounded looking at that, thinking, because when I saw the foul, I thought, oh, there's a missed penalty in the game. Oh, no, it wasn't given, which was quite incredible. But yes, we get into extra time. But as you say, David, the Uruguayans, they were down on their knees. They were exhausted. They looked defeated. And, America's plan of not losing, perhaps, okay, as Jonathan's mapped out there, there's a few near misses and whatnot, but they must think to themselves, right, we're nearly here. We've nearly got it, guys.
And it's when I think you start to think about it. It's not just this match. It's not just this final. It's just like this energy that's been building up for over a couple of years. I mean, when I think some of the players, they've spoken afterwards about that match, and it just this huge pressure in their shoulders. They're like seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and they're just like thinking, okay, finally we're going to do it. And as I was telling you, it's when we're reaching the end of the match, the Uruguayan commentator, he surrenders, and it's just at this time where the ball, I don't know, it's like when you see the footage, it's as a young supporter of America, I'm like just you feel you try to, of course the match is already done, but as a young supporter you are like, just kick the ball away, just throw it away, it's done. But you see like the ball like magic, it's like, and that's when you see Aguirre, he was like this lethal kind of player. He just took it and he shot and that was it. And when he scores, this is, I think, the Garra Charrúa has had many moments because, of course, the tradition of Uruguay has been built through many episodes, Maracanazo and stuff. But I think among those episodes, you have this match because when Aguirre scores, you can hear the Uruguayan commentator like resurrecting. Just a couple of seconds before he was saying, we are done, we lost. And then when Aguirre scores, he's like, the Garra Charrúa, we Uruguayans are like this, and he exalts and this, and it was the footage. It's amazing if you look at it.
The commentary is brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you don't speak Spanish, just the emotion of the commentary is very, very clear. But the goal is just a ridiculous goal because you can see the players are waiting for the final whistle. They're not really kind of getting into shape. So the ball's cleared from the America box, and there's just sort of a load of players milling about. There's no sort of pattern to it. And the ball's sort of knocked back forwards. And then Aguirre sort of puts it one side of, I think it's Valencia, runs around the other side, gets to the corner of the box, and then absolutely lashes it bottom corner from just inside the box. And Falcioni, no chance of getting there.
No,
but it's a goal completely from nothing. Like, absolutely from nothing. There's no suggestion of a hint of a threat.
Mm-hmm.
And then one touch past the defender, one touch in the bottom corner, and it's over.
And it shows you how lethal Aguirre was as well.
There's this anecdote because in Colombia back then we had a power shortage. We were like dealing with stuff with the power shortage, and back then when the match was like in the 119th minute, there was a power shortage in a region of Colombia, in Cali. So when people in Cali the power shortage occurred, they were like celebrating and we won. And when the power came back and they saw like Penarol players celebrating, they were like, what is this? This is a joke. And again, it plays on with the Halloween Dia de las Brujas, which we take like seriously in Colombia, and it's like this, what is this curse? What has America done to the world to deserve this? And to this day, it's yes. Ever since America reached actually a fourth final of Copa Libertadores in '96, which again we lost against River Plate, and ever since I'm glad to say that America, how to put it into words, but America paid for its sins in the sense that America, of course, was a club backed by cartel in a period of our history. But America is the only club that was punished by, let's say, how to speak, by the law. And it was demoted back to the second division in Colombia, where it spent a couple of years. And it actually helped to cleanse the team in a way. And we came back to the first division, and we're doing quite good as of now. America has won the two latest championships in Colombia.
But that
and Falcioni as well carried the curse. He led Boca in the 2012 Libertadores final when they lost to Corinthians, and that was when there was a whole falling out with Riquelme, and so. These curses, I mean, they shouldn't really work, but they do kind of seem to.
Yeah, well, the Sunderland's one was lifted.
Don't start me off.
I thought I'd get the curse you mentioned. No pun intended there for them. But I mean, in 1989, a Colombian side would win the Copa Libertadores for the first time. A Colombian side would do it, but it's of course Atletico Nacional and not America. And as you say, not many times Colombian sides have won the cup. I mean, Once Caldas and again Atletico Nacional fairly recently. But I mean, it's an extraordinary. And you said that this has been a scar on America de Cali, and is it? I mean, I suppose. You talk about the psyche of Colombian football fans, or maybe Colombian people. You could extrapolate that out to compared to say Uruguay, where you saw that never say die spirit, and it came true for them. And Colombia, it ends in disappointment. Obviously, it became true. Is this still in the psyche of Colombian people, or more specifically America fans?
I wouldn't say Colombian people because we Colombians, we tend to be quite resilient because of all the hardships we have to endure and have to overcome. So I wouldn't say that we Colombians suffer from that, but specifically in the football sport, I would say that we Colombians are lacking, because if you think about it, we have in other sports, we have maybe Mariana Pajon, she's like the world's best BMX rider. We have Egan Bernal, he won the Tour de France. He's Colombian, which places among the best cyclists in the world. It's just in football. In football, I think that Colombians, we have not quite managed to to reach that level of confidence. It's just mental confidence to really deliver in those big occasions. And the America story that we just shared, of course, is just an example of that. Against Uruguay, we beat Uruguay actually during the World Cup in 2014, which was maybe a big revenge for us Colombians in that sense. But to be honest, Colombia, to this day, we have not won a World Cup. We have not won. We have won Copa America, which we won under peculiar circumstances. So in the sport of football, Colombia, we are still like, we have the talent, but we are still waiting like to really gel. And we have like this trauma of our golden generation of the 90s, Valderrama, all this, that it ended up being underachievers in the sense that the expectations were so high and they could not deliver. So just to sum it up, I think that more and more when I write about football in my project Pinceladas de Fútbol, I try to really emphasize how Colombia in other sports, in weightlifting, in cyclists, in BMX riding, the mentality is actually stronger. The mentality they have it's really admirable. And when Egan Bernal won the Tour de France, he was something really inspiring. It's just in football, Colombian, we are still missing like that killer instinct. Just to put it into words, like that maybe other nations in South America have.
Yeah, absolutely. David, it's been fascinating talking to you about this. Thank you very much for coming on the pod and talking to us about poor old America de Cali.
No, thank you, Marcus. And thanks again, Jonathan. I congratulate you again on 10 years of greatness. What you have achieved with the Blizzard is really something unique in the sense that you've created like this global conversation towards football. And thank you. You have been a big inspiration, and I wish you all the best with the Blizzard and all your endeavors.
Oh, thank you very much.
That's very kind of you. Well, for more stories like that, ladies and gentlemen, do check out theblizzard.co.uk, or of course David's website. Do check out that as well, pinceladasdefutbol.com. We'll be back next week with another great game from the history of football. See you then.